So let's start with something that people might think is a complicated issue, and it's not. And here's a very, very simple breakdown. Very simple breakdown. I don't understand why abortion is such a huge issue, and everybody's going to come back at me and say, "You're a man, you're not allowed to say anything about abortion." But abortion is it takes two people to create a baby, a man and a woman. So a man and a woman can talk about baby issues, which can talk about abortion. So here's my thing about abortion. I don't understand why it's an issue now. I get it from back in the day, shouldn't be an issue now. So you can make all sorts of little different, I would say fixes to laws and things like that, um, because a lot of people try to say, oh, what if somebody's got rape or incest? Well, I think there's a lot of passion in regular people, especially conservatives, especially Christians, and a lot of people, and there is a lot of people who I've talked to that say, even if that happens, who cares? It's still a baby. Somebody will still want it. But the majority of the world, the majority of the United States of America, uh, can concede on some of those things. But when conservatives say, so what if we make a bill that says if that's the case, if it's rape or incest, then it's legal and it's up to you and your doctor, but everything else is illegal. They still say no, not enough. So you put any type of restrictions on abortion and stuff, and they say no, 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 we want abortion on a man, we want abortion at any time, blah blah blah. So to me, it's a money trail. To me, the way that I look at it, it's a money trail. So, what do I mean by money trail? Well, baby parts make money. There's all sorts of video and evidence out there that baby parts make money, which shouldn't it should be a non-issue anyway. So, let's say that we make a compromise and we say rape and incest. We'll make a concession to that, and if it's rape and incest, then it's between you and your doctor. It has a police report and things like that. That's good. That's fine. That's allowed. So everything else, most Americans, the majority of Americans believe in the heartbeat thing. As soon as there's a heartbeat, it becomes a baby. You're not allowed to abort it anymore, which, makes sense to a lot of people. I still don't agree with that either. And here's the main reason because we have so many different things now that so many other options that you have at your own availability that are super cheap or free or things like that that can prevent abortion. What do I mean by that? There's number one, there's abstinence. Abstinence. What about sexual freedom and things like that? Well, that's fine. You can have sex and stuff all you want, but if you really respect your own body and you really respect your own future, and you want to make sure that no kids bother your future, you want to make sure that you go to college and graduate college, and what's so hard about saying no? What's so hard about just saying, you know what, I don't want to have kids, so I don't even want to risk it. I want to make sure and focus on my life. That's a really, really, really respectful thing to do. In fact, more women that are taught to be that way are probably going to be far, far, far more successful in life than anything else. And I think it's just a social stigma that says teenagers need to start having sex in high school, need to have they have all these movies and stuff out, American Pie, things like that show all these college kids and stuff out there constantly having sex, and it's all based on sex. Our media is all based on sex. Modeling is based on sex. Everything's based on sex. So everybody feels this pressure that they have to have sex. I mean, I remember being a middle schooler and being interested in sexual activity and things like that. So I completely get it. Boys, as soon as they reach a certain age, they automatically, it's almost like their brains are just programmed to 100% start focusing on sex. So, in a world that's so focused on hypersexualism, wouldn't it be more respectful? Wouldn't it show more girl power? And wouldn't it show more intelligence to actually sit back and say, you know what, I'm going to remain abstinent. I'm not going to let anybody push me. You can call me a prude. You can call me whatever you want. There's abstinence. I'm going to make sure and get my life in order. That's actual planned parenthood. When you plan on your life to be a certain way before you actually have kids. So that's number one, uh, abstinence. Number two, there are other types of sexual things that you can do, and a lot of Christian teenagers do this type of thing. They don't want to lose their virginity before they get married, so they try all sorts of other things. Um, I'm not going to mention them. We'll get PC, but there's a lot of other things that you can do. Uh, a female and her boyfriend that will satisfy him, and it will guarantee that you don't have get pregnant and things that he can do to you, and stuff like that. So not a big deal. So abstinence. There's alternative sexual congress that you can do. I guess that's how you would say it. But then there's birth controls. We have so many more birth controls now than we've ever, ever, ever had before. We have condoms. I mean, we've had condoms for a long time. They've had condoms since the 1800s. Guys wore sheep bladder condoms or something like that to make sure that they didn't get sexual diseases from all the whores that got passed around and stuff. So, I mean, the technology in condoms has skyrocketed and become way, way better now. And then in like the 70s, 60s, 70s, birth control came about. The one good thing about birth control allowed birth control and feminine products allowed a whole new type of female to be able to perform better in the workplace and perform better in school, colleges, things like that. Gave women so much more freedom to do, to do life, to be in life. So we've had those for a long time now, and people were just handing out condoms when condoms first came out because there was a stigma on abortion for a long time up through the 90s. And so the best battle to the abortion thing was condoms and people handing out condoms. So you have the option of condoms. Birth control, they got really good birth controls now. Most of them are just like a 99%, 98%, somewhere around there effectiveness. So you still have the chance of getting pregnant when it comes to that. Um, Condoms, birth control, like the pill. They have IUDs. Is it IUD? All sorts of different things that you can use in order to stop pregnancy. And I think is it the IUD, the little, it looks like a T that goes up in. That's almost like 100% effective from what I've read. In fact, I've never read of anybody getting pregnant on one. I could be wrong. There could be stuff out there. I would never say 100% that I'm right on that. But that's a pretty good one. And a lot of college kids who are very serious about themselves, who can't do abstinence, who are pressured too much by the over sexualization of America, um, get something like that to make sure that they get through school, they get their career, and then they plan their parenthood. Um, and then the last thing in all of this, let's see, let's just go from the beginning again. So there's abstinence. Abstinence is huge. You can be abstinent. I mean, it takes a strong person to be abstinent. It takes the strongest person to be abstinent. Um, Alternate sexual congress. I guess is how you would call it. Third would be your condoms, your birth control, do things like that. And then number four, the biggest one. I mean, they've got the morning after pill. They do, and you can just go in and get it. It's not a big deal. You can go in, you can ask your doctor. In fact, they could make that more readily available to where you could keep like, I think you should be able to keep like a bottle of the morning after pill. Now there are still people who consider that to be an abortion, but if there's nothing fertilized anyways, it's the morning after. You don't know if it's taken hold or anything like that. You're just basically using it as a another form of birth control. So I don't understand like why it's such a huge deal anymore because all we need to do is teach our kids that listen, if you want a good future, there's a few things that you can do. Make sure you don't have any babies before you graduate high school. Okay? Make it through high school, make it through college. Get married before you have babies. Plan your life out. Make sure that after college you have your career, you start your career, you start to build your money up and build your empire. Then you start to plan your children. And in all that stuff, the strongest people, the strongest women, and the more attractive women, honestly, the guys are going to be more inept to want to be with a woman who has practiced some of these things, safe sex, uh, alternate sex, or abstinence. Guys, I mean, you'll get a better guy the more you practice some of those things. I'm not saying you need a better guy. So I'm just saying, you want a better father to your kids, somebody who's more respectful, somebody who's going to treat you right, somebody who's going to help you build the life and the family that you deserve, somebody who's going to respect you. Oftentimes, guys respect a woman only as much as they respect themselves. So if you don't respect yourself enough to take some semblance of care for yourself and you think it's just sexual deviance all over the place. Let's just have sex, sex, sex here and there, and I should have free available abortions just in case, just so I don't mess my life up. I'm just gonna have sex here and sex there, and if anything ever happens, I'm just gonna have an abortion. Uh, if you're one of those types of people, and you're not planning, you're not you're not looking ahead of life, and you're not assuring that you have the best possible future, you obviously don't respect yourself as much as you claim on TikTok or Facebook or things like that. You have all these like blue-haired weirdos that have their hair all cut funky and have hair under their armpits and they're all screaming and all these holes in their face and they're talking about women power and we're the best and blah blah blah. They're like the worst people of all time. They're miserable. They're all miserable. Every single one of them is miserable. They know it. They're not going to say it. They want the world to think one other thing. It's the worst. It's the worst type of people, and you don't want to be one. You don't want to be miserable. Anybody who believes in that crap is miserable, and they know that they're miserable. Every single one of them. And you don't want to be that. You want to respect yourself. The more you respect yourself, the more men will respect you. The more men respect you, the more you will get a respectful partner. The more you get a respectful partner, the more you will have a loving, long term relationship with somebody who will help you raise children and be a 100% partner. There's no such thing as 50-50 in partner because both sides do their own jobs. So one gives 100% of this, one gives 100% of that, one gives 100. There's no 50-50. Keeping score, trying to think everything's 50-50 is just a dumb idea. Don't ever do it. Don't ever get caught in that trap of this whole everybody needs to be equal in a relationship because there's one thing some do that others don't. That it's better for a woman to do this because it's going to make the child more well-rounded if a woman does this, and it's more solid if a man does this because it's going to make the child more well-rounded if they do this. So again, women, the best idea as women, and the strongest idea would be abstinence. 100% abstinence is the best idea of all time. But if you can't do that because it's over sexualized, and I do get it, as soon as, I mean, right, I remember in middle school, I mean, that's all you wanted to do. All young boys wanted to do. You want to go out, you want to have fun, you don't want to be pressured into things, you want to be able to experience things. I get that. And actually, having sex at a younger age actually helps you experience. Being in a long term relationship in high school, being in a long term relationship in college, both of those things actually help you develop your relationships in the future. So I'm not saying that, you know, every single girl should just go abstinence because I think that's probably not it's not a good solution for things. I'm trying to think of the right word. But if you can't get birth control, you can't get things like that. Abstinence, those are the strongest women, and they respect themselves. The one thing about respecting yourself enough to not just give it away to everybody is finding you're saving yourself for that one special person who's going to treat you right and going to check all your boxes and things like that. That's a woman who men will absolutely probably not high schoolers, probably not college people. They'll probably call you prude. They'll probably do all this different stuff, but they're not going to matter in the long run because you're not going to be working with them. They're not going to be living in your neighborhood. You don't have to be around those people. You can surround yourself with good people who believe the same values that you do. So you don't have to always go for the cool kid. You don't have to do what the cool kid does. You don't always have to wear the Nike shoes or have the Apple phone or anything like this that all the cool kids are doing. You don't have to try to fit in. The strongest women oftentimes enforce their values over anything else. And then when they get paid off in the end with everything they ever wanted in life, they're more respectful, they're more grateful, and they respect themselves a whole lot more. Women who just go around and go to a party and somebody says you're cooler if you have an iPhone, or somebody says you're cooler if you have these shoes, you're cooler if you have that, and they just constantly let everybody dress them, they let everybody make decisions for them, and they say, you know, this guy likes you. You'd be cooler if you went out with them. You'd be cooler if you experienced this. You'd be cooler if you experienced that. Those people are just followers. They're just doing what everybody else says. And then later on in life, they're going to be miserable because they've let everybody else dress them. They've let everybody else make the decisions for them. So um, those girls are the ones who are screaming from the rooftop that they need abortion on demand and abortion at any time because maybe they're with a boyfriend, but they don't really know that boyfriend. They don't really trust that boyfriend. The boyfriend doesn't respect them because they don't respect themselves. But they want the baby. They don't want to abort the baby. They want to stay with the boyfriend, but the boyfriend freaks out and leaves. Or maybe she's afraid that he's going to freak out and leave. So she wants that abortion all the way up to delivery date because she doesn't know if he's going to stick around. And you should never, oh my God, you should never, that baby's a piece of you. It's a part of you. It's got your blood. It's got your DNA. You should never want to kill that thing just because your partner leaves. You should never love your partner more than your own child. That's ridiculous. And I see that stuff all the time where somebody will make decisions, bad decisions for their kid because they love their partner, somebody who's not even blood, somebody who could have just been somebody else easily. If a decision would have been made differently, they could have been with somebody completely different. No one's ever going to be as close to you as your child is because your child is your blood. They have your same saliva, they have your same looks, features, so many things that you have in common with each other. You're never going to have that with somebody else. So why would you want to take that thing inside of you that you may call a thing? I call it a baby. Why would you want to take that inside of you and just murder it? You cake murdering son of a bitch. That's a pretty good joke. I'll have to tell this just before I'm gonna end with this. Bill Burr. Bill Burr says one of the coolest things I've ever heard in my life. It's a stand up. I get it, it's a joke, but he says the abortion conversation, and this is just from him. I'm not trying to steal a joke. I'm trying to say is he said, and I'm gonna paraphrase because I'm not gonna tell it as good as he is, and you're probably not gonna laugh because it's not gonna sound like a joke. But he says an abortion is kind of like baking a cake. You know, you have all the ingredients, you put it in, you start the oven, you put the cake mix and stuff and the batter and everything in the oven, and you let it go to a certain amount of time. You take it out, it's cake. But abortion's kind of like somebody makes a cake, they put all the ingredients in, they put it in the oven, it starts going, then somebody else comes out and grabs that cake and slings it across the floor, and everything batter goes everywhere. And then you go, "What'd you do that to my cake for?" And you say, "It's not a cake yet." Yeah, but it would have been if you would have just given it more time, you cake murdering son of a bitch. Like, it's the exact. I mean, it's a perfect analogy on abortion. But, anyways, my name is Bryce Michael Cast. Well, my name is Bryce Michael. And this is Bryce Michael Cast. We'll see you guys later. Y'all have a good.